Okay, we're back. So we last time learned about percents. Mostly a review, I admit. However, today we're going to go ahead and use more applications of percents. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the notes on 2.9. Now, once again, I have partial notes on 2.9, and we're going to take some from the book. So let's go ahead and see what we have. And we'll go to the first page. If you notice here, we have 2.9 applications of percents. The first thing is a commission. A commission is money you get for making a sale. Usually it's a percentage. I've worked sales jobs in my life before, and what they do is they'll say, well, for every, let's say, $100 you sell, you keep $5 of it, which doesn't sound like a lot, but if you sell 100, you get $5, 1,000 you get 50, 10,000 you get 500, 100,000 you would get 5,000. It starts to add up. Therefore, commissions is a good way to motivate sales. So let's say in this case you get 15% commission for every piece of furniture you sell. And then you sell $2,000 worth of furniture for the week. How much would you get paid just on your commission? Well, what you do is you take what you sold and you get 15%. So the amount sold is $2,000. 15% is 0.15. So, and how'd you do that, by the way? Remember, this is just 15 over 100, which is simply 15%. Top divided by bottom, 0.15. Now, take that number times 0.15 and equal it out, and you get $300. So, for moving $2,000 worth of furniture, you make $300. Now, granted, if that's all you're making at your job, it's not a whole lot of money, but if you get a salary on top of that, or if you can increase your sales, imagine if you added a zero here. Let's say you sold $20,000 of furniture. Now, I admit that sounds like a lot, but not really. When your average sofa, sectional, other things could easily be sold in a package for a couple thousand. In an entire week's time, if you sold 20,000, you'd make 3,000 a week in this scenario. You can see it's not hard to understand how sales can be a very profitable job for those who have the gift of gab, like myself. Moving on to the next page. Let's go ahead and take a look here. You get 7% commission for selling BMWs. About right for Beamers, I would say. So let's say you sell $345,000 for the week. Granted, that's a little pie in the sky. You have to be selling about 5 or 6 of them. But okay, we'll go ahead and take that number. What's your commission? You simply take $345,000 times 7%, or 0.07. So I have my trusty scientific calculator again. Let's go ahead and get it turned on. 345,000 times 0.07, 24,150. Not only do I use the calculator to speed up the videos here, but also because I've done this enough times in front of you that you should have the idea of how to do it by hand. Next one, AT&T. You try. The AT&T phone company gets 0.015% commission fee for each call from another company that uses this phone line, commonly called a linebacker fee, I believe. Now, if anyone works for the phone company and I'm wrong, please let me know and I'll have to change the video, I guess. But in the month of April, there were 15 million off-company calls in this scenario. So what was their fee or commission? Remember, each call is 0.015, which doesn't sound like much, I admit. But that's what they're getting. So let's take a look. We take 15 million times 0.015 over 100. Now be careful here. You're not times it by 0.015 because it's 0.015%. So this divided by 100 is actually this. Divide this by 100, you go 1, 2, 0.00015 times 15 million. Common mistake, because when you see the decimal here, you think to yourself, well, it's already a decimal. Yeah, but it's a percent, so it's still over 100, which still means divide by 100. So let's go ahead and find out. 15,150,000 times 0.00015. I get 2,250. Now, what I neglected here was to say that's $2,250 if this was $15 million, or whether there are 15 million calls, they would get the approximate value of this much. But either way, 2,250. All right, let's go ahead and switch to the book here. So we did the salary one, which is fine. We learned about that. Now we should do this here, simple interest paid annually. Now if you notice here, simple interest is interest equals principal times rate times time. For those of you taking notes, you should write that down, and I'll wait. Actually, you can pause it. I won't wait. But you should write down simple. Shut up, dog. Simple interest equals principal times rate times time. Oh, better hold on a second. Let me stop this. Okay, we're back. Let me get where we started. Boy had to answer the door there. Let's see. So we were looking at the book here. Simple interest equals principal times rate times time. Also, that's another good reason why you take notes. You take notes because you're constantly interrupted and you want to remember where you left off at. Luckily, I have Camtasia and Smartboard and the textbook online. You don't have all those things, so you want to make sure when you have notes in front of you, you can use them. It's a great way to not lose track of where you're at. Anyway, so let's see here. Simple interest equals principal times rate times time. All right, so let's go ahead and put that down here. Whoops. And let's turn that into an equal sign. And there we go. So that's simply what we have. Interest equals principal times rate times time. So what we're going to do here is take an example. Find the simple interest paid for 2 years on a $900 loan at 16% per year. Let's put all the things over here, shall we? Let's move this over some. Too far. A little more. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and say, whoops, there we go. Let's go ahead and start with the $900 loan. So that's the principal. Principal means how much was loaned out or borrowed in the first place. Then you have rate. What's the percentage rate? If it's a large percentage rate, it's going to go up much faster than a low percentage rate. In this case, the percentage rate is 16%, which is pretty high prices. Of course, commonly you can have credit cards or short-term loans be that much or more, so beware. If you're not sure what all that means, ask your parents. I'm sure they've had to experience it sometime in their life. Now, check for time is 2 years. Now what I don't have here is the actual interest, but I do have all the things I need to figure that out, because I have all three guys here. So what do? They're all touching, so they all mean times. So you have 900 times 16%. Put it as 0.16, and because I'm doing that, I'll just make this an X for times. Times 2 for 2 years. Once again, let me trust the trusty old calculator. Let's see, I have 900 times 0.16 times 2, 288, and just like it says down here, 288. What that means is when he loans that $900 out, okay, so he loaned $900, he has to pay that plus $288 back in 2 years, so really he's paying $1,188, which might seem like a lot more, but he needed the money and he had 2 years to pay. That's how it works. You borrow money, you pay it back with interest, you give the bank money, they give it back to you with interest. Although with the 0% interest right now with the Federal Reserve, I highly doubt you want to put much money in the bank because you won't get much back in savings in your savings account. But that's my speech on the Federal Reserve. You can catch my litany of that any other time than school hours. Thank you. Back to what we're doing. So simple interest paid annually for 2 years on a $900 loan at 16%. We did that. We're all fine. Let's move to the next page. Okay. This one says after 3 months, the simple interest earned annually on an investment of $7,000 was $63. Find the interest rate. Well, okay. Let's see here. I equals PRT, just like it has here. Okay. You know what? Let me show you a little secret of what I do. I go to the last page. I just copy and paste. That's how I make notes so fast. And now I'm going to go ahead and draw arrows. Let's see. It was a $7,000. Hey, boy. How you doing?
Good. Can I have some ice cream?
Yeah. You need me to go get it for you?
I know how to get it.
Be careful. Not too much.
Okay.
Dinner's in an hour. So there's my son Ethan. So $7,000 principal. Okay. 3 months. Now that's going to be a little different because 3 months. Normally we do things by year, which is annually. That's going to change things, and we don't know the rate. Now the interest, however, was $63. So lots of things have changed here. Let's take them one thing at a time. First of all, we have our interest, so that's $63. So put that here. I have my principal, which is $7,000. I don't know my rate, so I'm just going to put a little parentheses with an R. Now remember, I'm timesing them all anyway, so we'll get back to that. Finally, 3 months. Since I'm going to go on a yearly basis, how many months are in a year? And I do hope by 8th grade you know that there's 12 months in a year. I'm pretty sure you do. So put 3 over 12 like that. Because remember, we're just dividing by 12 because we're only counting by months and not years. So these two things stay the same. This changes 3 divided by 12. If you calculate, 0.25. And over here still your 63. I'll move the R over here. Because they're all times, I can shift them any way I want. And I'll put the 7,000 here. Now why did I do that? Because I'm going to take 7,000 times 0.25 here in a second. So 7,000 times 0.25, I'll just cheat over here and look. It says 1,750. All right. Hey, working with the book open has its advantages. So they're saying 1,750 times R, and now to get R by itself, instead of times 1750, we divide by 1750. Divide 1750 on one side, divide it on the other. We can go ahead and calc that as well, but again, they have that here as 0.036. Now be careful. 0.036 is not the rate. It is the decimal point. To find the rate, percentage rate, excuse me, it is the rate actually, but to find the percent rate, you need to times it by 100. So 1, 2, so the rate is 3.6%. So let me reiterate that, excuse me. The actual rate is 0.036, but the percentage rate is 3.6%, meaning every $100, $3.60 will be going towards the interest. That's why we do it that way. Anytime you have a percent, just think out of 100. So $3.6 out of 100 is the percent rate. Okay, let's do a you try, which means we can say goodbye to the book for a minute. So goodbye, book. You try. Let's go ahead and put the following. Let's say you have a loan of $5,000. Okay, that's your loan amount. The rate we're going to make as 6%. And let's say you want to have that loan for 3 years. If you never paid any money until the very end, so you had to pay all the interest in the end, just like a normal problem, I equals PRT, how much interest would you have? So again, let me borrow from here to help you. Knowing that principal rate time. Go ahead and pause this video and give it a try. Pause it. Okay, hopefully you had a chance to pause. Let me show you what to do. Also, one else thing I like to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this, and even though these are my numbers, I'm going to take this figure and watch how I put the numbers inside. This is so I don't forget anything. Do remember that I'm taking 6% and pointing 0.06. Like this. And then I'm going to take my trusty calculator again. 5,000 times 0.06 times 3, and I get 900, which you probably can't see, but that's okay. So, whoops. That means if you were borrowing $5,000 at 6% for 3 years, you would pay the $5,000 back plus another $900 in interest, which if you needed $5,000 really isn't that big of a deal, at least to most people. Some might balk, but if it is, then don't do it. Then go get a different way to get a loan, what have you. Let's try again. You try again, because you are AT after all, so you deserve a challenge worthy of you. So let's just take these here and do a few changes. Let's go ahead and copy that. Let me go ahead this time, and you're going to loan out, let's have you loan out $45.50. $45.40. Let's make it at 1.6% interest, and let's go ahead and do it for 3 months. I want you to go ahead and calculate to the nearest penny what the interest will be. Go ahead this time, pause it. Hopefully you paused. because I still have to find the answer myself. Let's take a look. Okay, so what we have here is I'm going to go ahead and put these in place. So I'm going to go ahead and clone this. I'm going to go ahead and put 45.40, so $45.40 times 0.016. That sounds about right. Now times 0.25. Now why again? I'll bet some of you took times 3, but no, 3 months. 3 divided by 12, or 3 over 12, which makes 0.25. So what we have here, you got to times them up. 45.40, whoops, let me start over. 45.40 times 0.016 times 0.25. Woo! I'm getting 0.1816, which doesn't seem like much, but then again, it's not a high interest rate, anything for very long. Let me just double check that. 45.40, yep, times 0.016, yep, times 0.25, okay. So the giant interest rate you're going to get, or interest you're going to receive off such a loan is basically 18 cents. So what I'm looking for is this. That's 16, dummy. 18, there we go. 18. Now how do you make a cent sign? Well, I'm just going to freehand draw it. Laugh if you want. There you go. All right. One more of these you try examples. All right. You earned $15 interest on a $600 loan at 2% interest. All right. How many years was it in the bank? Now, not bank. Now, I give you that hint because I didn't have to say years, I could say how long, and unless I said otherwise, you'd have to know that I mean annually or years. But in this case, I'll just tell you. So go ahead and give it a try. Pause. Now, some of you probably didn't pause because you're not sure what to do. Well, let's take a look. Well, still I equals PRT, but you earned $15, so that is your interest that you've earned. $600 is the loan, even though I didn't put the dollar sign. 2% interest. This time I didn't have the time. Well, that's fine. Let me just put down what I do have. I have 15. I have 600, which I guess I can put in parentheses there. And the rate's 2%, which is 0.02. What I don't have is the time. Notice how I leave the t because I don't have it. Now, go ahead and multiply these two together. 600 times 0.02. Here's what you do. 2 times 600 is 1200. So like this. You can say 600 times 2 is 1200, but 2 decimal spaces, so I have to move the decimal spaces over. 1, 2. So 1, 2. Now I get 12t. Let me back myself up there. I'm pretty sure I'm right. But 600 times 0.02, marvelous, is 12. Alright, so I got 15 equals 12t. To get t by itself, alright, I'll just, instead of times t, you're going to divide by, instead of times 12, you're going to divide by 12. Divide 12 on one side, divide 12 on the other. Now, what we have here is 15 divided by 12, which gives me 1 3/12. I just took 12 away from the 15, put the big 1 there, 3 over 12, which is 1.25 equals t. So it seems to me that I have it there for 1.25 years. Finally, one more you try like that. This time, I want to go ahead and do the following. This time, you earned $154 on a loan at 20% interest for 3 years. So this time I'm telling you that you've earned $154 on a loan at 20% interest for 3 years. What I don't know is what the principal was. So what was the principal? Remember, principal is spelled like your pal downstairs, your principal, not PLE. The principal there is where you talk about like the principal of an issue. All right, so $154 is the interest rate. That's fine. The 20% interest is a loan shark loan, and 3 years is the time. But what we don't have is how much you actually put in. So we'll find out how much you actually put in to begin with. Let's see. We'll go ahead and clone that. Now I'll put 154. Oh, I'm sorry. You try. Pause and wait. Okay, hopefully you paused and tried. And we'll plug these in here. Let's see. I don't know the principal, so I leave the P. I'm going to put in 0.2 for the rate, because I don't know that. I'll plug in a 3 for the T. So something like that. Principal times 0.2 times 3. Well, 0.2 times 0.3 is 0.6. Now I have that, and instead of times 0.6, I'm going to divide by 0.6. Now, because I'm dividing by a decimal and weird things happen, actually this number grows larger. I could take a long time to explain that. You can just say that's what's going to happen. So 154 divided by 0.6. Sure enough, 256.666667, which is to simply put 256 and 2/3. We'll round off and just say 256.67. And there you have it. Last thing, if you look back at the textbook here, they have a sales tax. A tip is the amount of money added to a bill for a service. There's two things. Tip and sales tax are two separate things, I'm sorry. A tip is what you put on after, you go to a restaurant. You go to a restaurant, let's say you order $20 of food. Well, because the waitress has to deliver you the food, get you your drink, do the other things, get your special stuff, don't forget the dressings, don't forget this, it's customary to leave a tip. Now, how much is hotly debated? The common knowledge is 15 to 20% for good to great service. Some people leave more, some people leave far less. It depends on you, the person, and the place you're serving. I know some places, if you have 6 party guests or more, 6 guests in a group, not a party, 6 guests in a group, they'll automatically put a 18% gratuity on your bill. So keep an eye on that to make sure that that's the case. Know that you're already paying that much. It never hurts to ask. You can always ask, hey, is the gratuity included? You're not trying to sound cheap. You just want to know, because if you're laying out 18%, on a $50 bill, well, you're already getting charged $9. So and that's fine, but then if you want to add to it, feel free, but if you don't, that's understandable. So that's what a tip is. So let's say here, let me make these larger numbers, by the way. So you spend, let's say, $54 on your dinner. I don't know, maybe it was you yourself and you ordered a steak, or maybe you took the family out, who knows. Whatever. You spent $54 on dinner. You want to leave a 15% tip. How nice of you. It's good of you to do that. Here's all you have to do. The formula I want you to use is this. Tip, I'm going to say as T equals meal times the rate. Okay? And that's how I would go for it. So the meal in this case is $54. Well, all right. So you have 54. The rate is 15% or 0.15. I think you see this one's going to be pretty straightforward. Just times them together. So, all right. Let's see here. 54 times 0.15. 8.1. So as long as you weren't a problem customer, $8.10 ain't bad for bringing out a couple entrees, desserts, a couple drinks, and some napkins. Not bad. You do that enough times, you might make a decent, salary. When I was a manager at Bob Evans, I assure you, I was making $30,000, but there were waitresses who made more than me. Of course, they gave excellent service, so they've earned it, and they worked harder than me too. I wasn't a slacker, but they worked harder. So it's a field where you can make a decent living at it, but not always. There are some who do very well and some who don't do very well. So it's a good job to have if you're really good at providing that service. Anyway, speech over on that. How about you try? Let's take all this here. Alright, let's say this time you're just gonna go and take your family, your grandma, grandpa, all your friends and neighbors out. You're gonna spend $123 because you're made of money. Trust me, when you get married and have kids, it seems that way. Anyway, you leave just because you're so darn generous, going to leave 18%. So, you try. Pause. Okay. Same thing, meal times rate. Let's see, 123, 18%. There you go. I don't know. 123 times 0.18. Well, let's look at it. 123 times 0.18. Buyow, $22.14. Hey, you're a good tipper. You should feel proud of yourself. And by the way, that's just the tip. So if you wanted to add that onto the bill, what you would simply do is take that plus 123.14, 541, 145.14. So you just spend $145.14. All right, finally we have sales tax. That's where the government it gets to tax you on whatever you buy. And it depends on your municipality, your county, whatever the sales tax might be. Different places in Illinois have different amounts. For instance, sales tax in Chicago, Cook County, has a different sales rate than what you pay in Sandwich. Why is that? Well, because a lot of times local taxes can help steer part of the sales tax. Most of the sales tax is from the state, but certain towns or whatever can add to it. Also, they're talking about having some sort of GRE tax or value-added tax, where if that ever happens, you would see that on the bill as well. But for right now, to make our life easy, let's go ahead and say we'll put sales tax here. And sales tax simply means how much extra you have to pay for your meal. Or not meal, but pay for your any item. So let's say, write this down here, you spend $78 at Walmart. The sales tax is 8%. Now, what you have to do is we're going to take this times 8%. So let me first put the formula together. Just as T equals meal times rate here, in this case we can put tax, T for tax, is going to equal cost.
Dad, can you please pause?
Oh, 1 second. Tax rate. Pausing. And we're back. Okay, I think somewhere along the lines we were talking about sales tax and how much you spent at Walmart. So, you spent $78 at Walmart. Sales tax is 8%. The tax is the cost times the tax rate. So, okay. What we'll do is we'll say cost was $78 times the tax rate, which in this case is 0.08. Again, pretty straightforward. So, 78 times 0.08. So you have to pay $6.24 in tax. Now, remember, that's your tax. However, if you want to pay for the entire items, you have to pay the 78 plus that. Now, this is important because every place does have tax and blah blah. There's a reason why you have to have sales tax and so on. But what you need to know is if you have $20 and something's $19.99, you're going to be like, yeah, I can buy that. I got 20 and there's $19.99. But no, because you have to pay sales tax. Sales tax, well, let's just go ahead and take 8% on $19.99. Go ahead and pause at this time. All right. So you have $20 or $19.99 at 8%. You times that by 0.08. You go ahead and add that there. $19.99 times 0.08. That's going to run you $1.59, really $1.60, 1.60. So really, the whole cost would be $21.59, I do believe. So $20 ain't going to cut it. So you'd have to buy something a little less expensive or get your folks to give you a few extra dollars to cover it. By the way, here's a quick trick to help you. If you wanted to find the entire amount without having to add it back on, you already have to times by 0.08. Times it by 1.08, because the 1 covers your $19.99. Go ahead and try. take $19.99 times 1.08. And I get 21.58 or 21.59. Same idea. All right, so that covers sales tax. Let's go ahead and erase that. We'll save it for posterity. And let's do a U-try on it. Wait, let me copy this down. Copy, paste, U-try. Alright, U-try time. Sales tax. This time you're going to spend $278. Not at Walmart. Come on. Who could spend $278 on Walmart? Except what I pay every week and stuff. But anyway, the point is, let's say $278. We'll say you spend it at Carson, Peary, hope I spelled that right, Scott's. And there you can buy, 2 shirts probably for that price at that store. But anyway, I don't want to get sued by Carson's. I'm sure it's a lovely store. The sales tax, we'll say this time we're going to make it harder, is 6.75, which is what it used to be a long time ago. It might still be in some places. I don't know. But let's go ahead and figure that out. So go ahead this time and try to figure that out. Go. Pause it. Okay, hopefully you paused it. Let's see what you got. Well, I'm going to go ahead and just clone this here because the cost was $278. And again, even though I have the ability to clone it with my computer, notice how I just plug it right in. 0.0675, because you just take this 1 space, 2 space, and now we just times them up. 278 times 0.0675. And I get $18 and probably 77 cents. So 18.77. That's your tax. If you lop that in with 278, you're looking at $296.77. Which again, if you're buying $278 worth of stuff, $296 probably ain't going to rub you too bad the wrong way. All right. Well, from the looks of it here, I think we've covered everything we need to cover with that. Oh, estimate percents. We're running kind of long on the video, but bear with me. There's a lot to cover here. You might need 2 days. We'll see. Estimating with percents. The dinner check for Maria's family, $67.95. Estimate 50% tip. Oh, we did that. But the difference is we're going to estimate. So we're just going to take $67.95. All right. So let's make that a little larger. Now, what they mean by estimate is obviously I can't say, gee, I'm going to take 15% with this without a calculator. Good luck trying. But I can round it, and you can round it a couple different ways. I'm sure that most people and your server would appreciate if you round it up to the nearest whole number. So we'll round it to 70, like they did in the book here. Now, 15% of 70, let's go and do a couple little quick math, and I'll show you how. 15% is 0.15, but I have a way of doing this for you. 15% is 10% and 5%. Because when you think about it, 10 plus 5 makes 15, right? Well, here's why that's important. You take $70, 10% of $70 is 7, and half of 7 is 3.5. Therefore, I get 10.5. Pretty slick. And I believe that's what they have here, 10.5. Let's do another like it. I better label this here as estimating percents. Alright, let's try another one here. Select all. Copy, paste. You try. I want 15% again. So you can keep that 10 and 5%. Estimate there's a percent on $167.95. Go ahead. You try at this time. Feel free to pause and give it a go. Alright. Well, let's see here. Might be a little harder with quick math, but I'm thinking 170. Well, it's a little tougher, but 10% of 170 is 17. Half of 17 is 8.5. And 17 plus 8 is 25, so 25 plus 0.5 is 25.5. I would know to leave a $25.50 tip. I might just leave $25. Sorry. It's just a nice round number. But maybe not. Who knows? Alright, so there you have it. And that's basically the sales rate here. And now we're finally finished my very long webcast. Thanks again, everyone. If you've done the U-Try and you've done the notes, go ahead and turn to me for 10 easy points. Thanks again. We'll talk to you later.